I want family leave paid for by me. I don't want to pay off my student debt. You pay it off. Yeah, I want money for every kid I have for the rest of their lives and my life too. Yes, I want free health care. All those doctors and nurses and medical assistants who breaking their ass in school, they work for me. When I go in, they have to serve me. The hell is this? No. Go.
Republicans argue Democrats should pass it themselves through reconciliation because the GOP doesn't support future spending bills.
So let me make it abundantly clear one more time.
Let me just say this. I think we have a communication problem. Republicans. Let me make it clear one more time. Go ahead.
We will support a clean continuing resolution. We will not provide Republican votes for raising the debt limit. There's no chance Republicans will help lift Democrats' credit limit so they can immediately steamroll through a socialist binge that will hurt families and help China.
The Republican Party has now become the party of default. The party
See what a sleazeball this guy is? How is it the party of default? How is it the party of default when the government takes in, now I think it's closer to $400 billion a month, and spends no more than 15% of that on debt service? How is that the party of default? Go ahead.
America doesn't pay its debts. Keeping the government open and preventing a default is vital to our country's future, and we'll be taking further action to prevent this from happening this week.
We certainly know Republicans are...
What's going on with the guy on the right there? Does he have a hypothyroid? His eyes are popping out of his head. Now, we know about the guy on the left, Woody the Woodpecker there. All right, go ahead.
In the era of Trump, and we obviously are still in the era of Trump, here's a party that spent like drunken socialists. You talk about...
Oh, gee. How many times have I said drunken Marxists? Joe Scarborough has never had an independent thought in his life. It's impossible. Look at him. Go ahead.
Socialists. This Republican Party spent like drunken socialists over the past 5 years. They racked up record levels of deficits, record levels of debts. The bills that Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell approved, the budgets, the largest budgets in the history of the Republic.
Until now. And you know what's interesting about this? Because he's such a serial liar. The Democrats wanted to spend more. Many Democrats voted against these bills because they weren't spending enough money. This fool knows that. He served about 14 minutes in Congress. So the Democrats voted against it. They wanted more spending. And there's no end to it. So, of course, the Republicans were out of control. I'm one of the few people on radio who even acknowledged it and talked about it. But that said, that doesn't give a pass to people who want to spend far more. What does that have to do with anything? And again, the issue here is the debt ceiling. It's the debt ceiling, not the spending ceiling. The debt ceiling. Enough money to pay off debt service and much, much more. Go ahead.
The Republican budgets were the largest in the history of the Republic and ran up record deficits and record debt. And that's the bill, actually, that has come due now.
No. The bill on the debt service has come due now on the past spending. But what he's doing there, the sleight of hand, what's very sleazy about what he's doing is he's trying to get you to believe that the bill that's come due now is for to fund all the programs of the past. No, that borrowing already took place. You're talking about the debt service, the debt service, the debt service, the debt service. And by the way, it doesn't just include the time Trump was president. It goes all the way back to the New Deal. The debt service it's an accumulation of debt. And so it's just remarkable to hear people who support Biden, support Bernie Sanders, who are on MSNBC, who think the sky's the limit when it comes to the government and government action and spending, to say, to look at the Republicans and what they did. It's one thing if I do it, right, as a constitutional conservative, to say, what are the Republicans doing? Which is why I'm not a big fan of the leadership of the Republican Party and so forth. It's quite another when they use their platform on MSNBC to do it, when they're pushing an entirely American Marxist agenda that would spend us into oblivion, and they're doing it now. So we're not paying for past programs. We're paying for the debt service that's already been put in place. So we're not paying for the actual programs that are already passed. What the Republicans are saying is we have enough money to pay for that debt service, but we're not going to increase the debt ceiling to include all the monies the Democrats now want to spend. And they have the votes to do that if they want to. We're not participating in that. You don't allow us to participate in this $5.5 trillion monstrosity. You're cutting us out of the process. You're abusing the budget process, reconciliation and all the rest. You're using all kinds of trickery to do it. And now you want to say, oh, yeah, we'll go along. We'll raise the debt ceiling. And the best Scarborough can do is say, Republicans spent like drunken socialists. I can't say drunken Marxists because Levin says that, but drunken socialists. And this raising the debt ceiling is really for money we've already spent. No, it's meant for debt service that has already been incurred. Go.
We're not talking about what happens in the future. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. You don't default at your bank.
Okay, how is it possible to default? If you have a dollar coming in and the debt service is 10, 12, 15 cents on the dollar, how would we default exactly? How would we default? They're not asking to raise the debt ceiling to pay for the past spending. They're asking to raise the debt ceiling to pay for the future spending. They're not asking to raise the debt ceiling to pay the debt service, which is already covered. This is all to fund all the massive programs pushed by these American Marxists. Go.
For debts that you may accrue in the future, you default because of what you've already done. And right now, Jonathan Lemire, this is Trump debts. This is McConnell debts.
My God, it's unbelievable. Trump, every time they turn around, these are sick people. These are sick bastards. This is Trump debt. This is all the debt accumulated really since the progressive era and certainly since the New Deal under every single president. And unfortunately, it's the sort of thing that has to be cut over a period of time. Now, how many Democrats would support cutting the debt over a period of time? Can you count one? No, not enough Republicans, that's for sure, but you can't count one, so you're never going to do it. Go ahead.
This is McCarthy debts. This is the Republican Party's debts. Again, during their socialist spending spree, and by the way, if they're calling people socialists,
Marxists,
right? Like Trump is calling people socialists, McConnell calling people socialists. Socialists are big spenders, right? Well, the Republicans spent more. Let me say this again. I know this is hard for people to figure out. Republicans spent more.
An unhinged pseudo-intellectual. Let me explain this. The Republicans spent more. And if you don't pay at the bank, this is comedy. This is comedy. The Democrats wanted to spend more than the Republicans. I don't have a special brief for the Republicans, period. But the Democrats wanted to spend more, but it's the Republicans. And not only that, let me see if I can explain. In other words, you're so stupid, Joe Scarborough has to explain to you why he's so stupid.
For more, sign up for Levin TV.